What is up, guys? Jonah back here with another video. Today, we're going to be fully reviewing the final shape of Destiny 2, and it is now completely out. Like last video, I did a review on the final shape, and it wasn't the last mission or last thing wasn't exactly, you couldn't unlock it yet until the raid was done, but now the raid is done, so we're hopping right into a full review here, and this one's going to be a lot better than last review. So let's just get into it. Of course, just be wary, there is spoilers in this video, and the mission or the gameplay is from the final mission in the video, so yeah, just be aware of that. And anyway, now let's get into it. So we're gonna start off with the gameplay. So the individual missions, I think, are fun for the most part. It brings in some solid raid mechanics, but then it gets like repetitive because they keep bringing in the same raid mechanics. Like Glyph, there's used Glyph probably 4 times, and it was like the same stuff: kill enemies, get glyphs, take out the overshield, and then do it 2 or 3 times. And they did that multiple times, and they just kept reusing similar mechanics throughout missions, and I thought that just got really repetitive and sometimes even tedious. And of course, the second to last mission, Ironclasm, I think is how you say that, Ironclasm, it was very tedious, and that might be a skill issue. I know others struggled to Meridianoid too, and it took, I think I said 2 hours to beat the entire thing, because it was pretty much, I think, if I remember correctly, it might have been the same 2 boss fights. No, it wasn't. They were very different. The first one, you had to do a bunch of stuff. The second one was very difficult, and it was just, God, I hated that mission, and that boss fight, of course, took me a very long time. Of course, we do have the Prismatic subclass, and this is a very good subclass with tons of build potential and tons of stuff you can do with this. I've seen many builds, and you're kind of you can take aspects, because that's how the subclass works. You take aspects from different builds to kind of make some very, 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 very powerful builds, and probably some of the best builds that we'll see in the entire game for PvE, for PvP, for dungeons, for raids. All of that stuff, I guarantee, is just going to be very useful in the future, and I think that's very good. Is it the best subclass? I don't know. I really do like my Solar Warlock build, and I like, Solar in general, and Stasis is pretty good. So I think maybe it's the best build, but they did end up taking like a lot of like weaker aspects, if that makes sense. Not aspects, I meant like, parts of builds. Like, I don't know why they put healing grenades for Solar Warlocks. That's just, wow, I was very surprised that they did that. So there was some like things that I don't agree with the choices there, but that's all right. Not everything has to go my way, and I know some people are gonna love making, some stuff with healing grenades. So of course, you can't please everybody, but that's fine. Now, there is a big problem though that I don't really find with Prismatic itself, but of how hard it is to get all these fragments. I don't think it'd be possible, except for like the 3 that are in certain missions, to get any of these fragments and figure out how to do these yourself without using guides. And maybe that's the point, you're supposed to use guides, but I feel like when they make you use guides instead of using your head, because like, could you? Is there people who did? Yeah, but I feel like, it's going to be nearly impossible to. It's going to take you multiple hours, and even with guides, it's going to take you a long time. I'm still missing 3. Once I get those last 3 fragments, though, I'm going to be making a build video as soon as possible and getting a good Prismatic Warlock build, and that's going to be a cool video, and I am very excited for that. Now we do move on to the story. Now, I did kind of say in my review I thought the story was alright, but honestly, as I have looked through it and over the past few days, and like, kind of seeing how everybody's reacting to it, and seeing like, oh, this, and like things that I didn't understand or get, I think it's actually a very good story. The best story, maybe, honestly, better than Witch Queen, better than Forsaken, I don't know, but it is better than anything else besides Forsaken and Witch Queen, and it might even be better than Forsaken and Witch Queen. I've seen some people make that claim, and maybe you agree with that. I don't know. I think it could be considered on like the same level as Forsaken, maybe better than Witch Queen. I think as it goes on, it does get better than Witch Queen in it because of like character arcs, which I'll get into it a little second here. So yeah, it's very good, very well written, and emotional in a very good way. I really did enjoy this story. Well, I did enjoy this story, and I am very excited to kind of see now where does it go after this, which of course we will explore in the next episode, called like Unfamiliar Voices or something, which is part of the Echoes episode, which, so yeah, I'm very excited for that. I think that's coming out Tuesday. And okay, I'm getting a little off track here, but point is, yeah, I do very like the overall story in general. Character wise, I did like Cade, and I thought Crow, like, as a catalyst, he was very good for Cade as well. You know, that dynamic between them, and kind of like, oh, you know, I revived you, you know, and it's just like, oh yeah, and they do have a lot of good interactions and just heartwarming and just kind of, you know, just solid interactions and a good dynamic between them. Crow by himself, though, I don't think we got a single moment in there where Crow was by himself. I think he was always with Cade, and I think maybe at that last cutscene there, he was with Zavala and Ikora. But other than that, I don't think we ever saw him without Cade, and meaning we never actually saw him alone. So, of course, how can you really like him as a character alone? Because we did see Cade a few times by himself without Crow. And, you know, that's alright. I mean, I'm sure Cade is definitely going to get some spotlight in the near future with how the story kind of ended, with, you know, him becoming the Hunter Vanguard and whatever. But, yeah, it's going to be cool, I think. And, yeah, I did really like Zavala's character arc, and his, I don't want to say backstory, but his kind of little thing there that he had, the story within the final shape with his wife and stuff. And it was very sad to see kind of that with Tharj. But I do think in the future, you know, we're going to also get a lot of Zavala spotlight, just because, again, how this ended with Tharj dying and all of that stuff. I think Zavala is definitely going to get a big character arc. I mean, he did already, so maybe not, but he did get a good character arc in this anyway, and I think that's very cool and good stuff to see. And it was a good character arc. Better than, of course, Ikora's. Ikora's didn't even have a character arc, so who cares? But Ikora, I did not like Ikora at all with this story. You know, getting mad at people and just overall, she just wasn't a good character. I haven't minded, you know, Ikora in the past, but here I just strongly disliked Ikora. And, you know, not all characters are going to be the best, but Ikora was just not great. She just was getting mad at Cade and all this stuff, and just her personality kind of did take a hit with the final shape. The ending mission was amazing. The last mission was such a good way to tie everything together. Not only was it good for story, but it was fun gameplay wise without feeling tedious like some of the main campaign missions like I already talked about with, like, you know, Ironclasm and some other missions. It wasn't tedious like that. It was just a very fun mission, which is, of course, what you're seeing here. I don't know if you want to consider it a mission, an activity, and it was a very good way to kind of, you know, bring a bunch of people together. And I thought that was just a very interesting way that they did that. I did not think that they would do something like that, although we did think we were gonna get our exotic class item in that mission, and I don't believe we did, which is whatever. I'm sure we're gonna get it anyway, but I'm hopeful for the future, just kind of how this ending ties everything up, and, you know, like I've already said, and how good this ending was for not only story but gameplay wise too. It was just like, wow, you know, all this story that we built up over the years, and this is how it ends. I've seen some people say it's perfect. Is it perfect? Honestly, yeah, I do think it was very good, and if it's not perfect, it's the closest thing to it. You know what I mean? Like, it is very good. It was a very good ending, and kind of how it changed my opinions on kind of the story and everything about the final shape as well. Now we do have some other stuff that I do want to mention. Wildcard exotic mission. I thought that was a very cool exotic mission. It was pretty fun, you know, again, not really tedious, or really, you know, it doesn't really play into those raid mechanics that much as, you know, other missions do. And Cade and Crow's interactions were here more than anything, and that was pretty cool to kind of see Cade and Crow, you know, interact, and Crow getting the Vanguard now. And then we do get also in the send-off, we get Cade dying and all that stuff, and it's just kind of like, this is, you know, Cade's story and Crow's story in this, you know, campaign was just amazing, and it is very present here in Wildcard. And yeah, I just think it's a very good exotic mission, and, you know, there's nothing much else to say about it though, because it's an exotic mission. But, you know, the exotic you get from it is pretty cool, and I do really just like this mission overall more than, like, other exotic missions, if that makes sense, and that's pretty cool. And of course, I did praise this in my other review. The visuals, the graphics, it just looks amazing from the beginning, from the very first mission of the final shape, you can see this, and it is present through the entire campaign. The scenery is just amazing, and everything just looks so amazing. It's just, there is nothing else to describe this scenery and visuals and graphics and whatever else you want to say, just how the game looks in general. There's nothing else you can describe this as other than amazing. And honestly, I don't think there's much you can describe this campaign of other than amazing. Like, this campaign is just really good, and having these awesome visuals is definitely a good part. I think it's honestly the best visuals we've seen from any campaign. I think, Lightfalls were all right, and Witch Queens are pretty good, so was Beyond Lights, but we've had, some pretty good visuals here, and then this one is just very good. So to wrap this review up, we do have the Strike. I can't remember, it was called Liminality, something like that. It's very cool looking with the lava and just overall scenery and buildings and whatnot. It was just very cool and fun, and probably honestly better than some of the missions like Ironclasm and just other stuff like that. I know I don't like Ironclasm, man. Ironclasm definitely tanked this campaign for me a little bit. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this review for the final shape of Destiny 2. I'm very excited to see where the story goes and just kind of how they take it from here. I'm gonna be watching that stream on Monday, talking about that too. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the final shape an honest to God 9 out of 10, and the only reason it's not 10 out of 10 is honestly because of Ironclasm and Icor. Like, those two things just kind of take the campaign down a little bit, but other than that, it was awesome, it was amazing, and it was very close to perfect. So yeah, that's gonna end things for today, guys. If you like this video, please like it. If you want to see more about me, please subscribe, and of course, like always, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.